It's postseason time in the NBA, so Sammy P joins me, our NESN betting expert. And let's start with the play-in tournament games. Most exciting of them all, the Nets and the Cavaliers. That 7-8 game winner gets the Celtics as the 2 seed. Now, Sammy, for this one, I know you're pondering on that.
And I'm like, the 7 plays the 8, who plays the 9. It's just like, I'm so confused.
Loser of 7-8 gets a winner of 9-10, and they get in on that one.
And none of them will win the title, but it's fine.
The Nets could make that noise. The Celtics too, but let's start with the 7-8. The spread right now, 7.5 to 8, 8.5, depending on where you're playing. The over/under between the Nets and Cavs, 230.5 to 230, depending. Same thing where you're shopping. Are you leaning spread on this one in a matchup of superstars for the Nets, good defense for the Cavs, or are you going over and under here?
It's really a tale of 2 cities or 2 teams at this point, and I'm inclined to look at the underdog catching a little too many points. You know what I mean? I mean, you look at the Nets, they're going to get bet as it is. I know professionals laid 7.5, got to 8, and now 8.5. But I'm telling you, George, that Nets team, the time to get them is early. And I think the longer they go in this postseason, the tougher they become to beat. So if you can jump on them and cut the head off the snake in that first game, that would be my advice. I think you could take 8.5 points with Cleveland. Very young, very good perimeter defense. They've got some bodies inside that can make life difficult, and they can make shots. The total all depends on who controls the pace. If it's Brooklyn, we could have 250 points. If it's Cleveland, you could have 210, and of course, 230 is right in the middle. So the books are guessing on the total. I think it's too many points. If I had to play one play-in game, I would take Cleveland and take the 8.5.
I like it. And Cleveland, of course, looks like they'll have Evan Mobley back. Dealt with the sprained ankle, played the last few games for them to close out the regular season. Okay, so the winner of that game gets the Boston Celtics an actual 7-game series.
All right.
Now, the Celtics right now, 5-1 to win the East. What do you see the ceiling being for this team? Is it a tough draw? You got Kevin Durant and the Nets in the first round. Kiss it goodbye because Robert Williams isn't back yet? Or do you actually like value there on that future prop for them?
I would wait and see what the series price is, honestly, between Boston and Brooklyn. And I'm thinking it's going to be Boston minus 150. That's probably what it should be, but there's always the elephant in the room of the superstar power and the magnetic pull that a team like the Brooklyn Nets had with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. But Boston's a better basketball team. And as I just said, play Brooklyn early. Don't play them in the conference final when they get stronger. The more water the plant gets, the bigger the plant grows. So I think it's a good thing for Boston to go through them early. But this path, we're talking Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Miami to get to the finals. I think the ceiling is winning the East, but by no means is winning a series or 2 and losing a bad season. I heard on the radio the other day, if they don't win the title, it's a bust. That's not the case with a first-year head coach and very young superstar players in Brown and Tatum. So I think they beat Brooklyn in the first series. I like Milwaukee. We'll talk about that shortly. But winning a series is something that Boston, should definitely be gunning for.
Do you go series by series more than going, hey, futures on this, especially in the early rounds?
It depends on the number. I think there's only a couple futures at this point. You know, the Phoenix number is way too short for me to get involved with. A lot of these top contenders now, the best time to bet them was 3-4 months ago, not going into the postseason. But I do think there are a couple bets to make. Boston to beat that series against Brooklyn. And my favorite bet so far that I've made is Milwaukee minus 2.5 games against Chicago. And that was plus 100 Monday morning at DraftKings. Now it's like minus 180. So it has moved. I think Chicago either gets swept or wins a game. But it's very dependent on who's playing and what the price is.
And if you think Sammy doesn't believe in that bet, if you think that for a second, that's going against his hometown team.
Yeah. Well, they're not winning 2 games.
Now, you mentioned Milwaukee. Bucks, Suns in the finals. That's what Vegas says for this one. Suns around plus 270 to win it. Bucks plus 550. What do you see on this one?
I wish I could come around on Philadelphia. You've got, 13-1 on the Sixers? Like, I wish I could believe in Embiid and Harden, but I don't. I don't think they're going to defend well enough. That's the most intriguing price. But as far as teams that can win in a realistic number, I think the Milwaukee Bucks. They won the title last year. They have the best player in the world right now in Giannis. Their 3-point defense, their 3-point offense. They make their free throws. They guard the hell out of you from bucket to 3-point line. At plus 550 right now, if you haven't made a future bet, I would go with Milwaukee to run it back.
I like that. Sammy P always giving us the tips. Playing tournaments final here. Postseason's finally here. We're just starting to bug you with all these videos, Sammy. Appreciate you always, man.
Go Bulls.